Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Stargirl, and this is of course going to be my review for the premiere for Season 3, Episode 1, otherwise entitled The Murder, or I guess it's Chapter 1, The Murder. But of course, spoiler alert, if you've not watched the episode, go away, because we're going to be talking about everything in this episode, of course, that including the lead up to the end, which sets up pretty much, I guess, most of the season, which is pretty exciting. So yeah, go away if you've not watched the episode. But if you have, let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on this episode. Did you enjoy the premiere? Did you like the setup? Did you like just, reintroductions of all the characters and where the season's going? Very curious to hear what you guys are thinking and just what your favorite moment was, as well as any other, any theories you might have in regards to what was set up at the end. Who do you think did that certain thing? And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, want to show your support, and you enjoyed the episode, want to drop a like on the video to show your support and all that. So of course, quickly to recap the end of Season 2, we did have Starman return to Blue Valley to assist in the takedown of Eclipso, who was, showering the town of Blue Valley in his darkness, with the Crocs also moving in across the street from the Dugan Whitmores, or Whitmore Dugans, after getting out of prison. We also see that Mr. Bones of the Helix Institute has his eyes on Blue Valley and its powered residences, or residents, might I say, with the Helix Institute having ties to Jenny Lynn Hayden, aka the new Green Lantern's brother, that being Todd Rice. And yeah, time for Season 3. So the episode did start with a pretty big recap, reminding us of multiple events with multiple characters since Season 1, which, you get that between Season 1 and 2, but or maybe like a final season or something like that, or like a series finale. So it caught me a bit off guard. It was a pretty long recap. But then we started off with some interesting things, and a bit more of it, even more interesting than like that big recap. And that's when we had the gambler narrating and telling us to strap in and get ready for a tale of murder in a very ominous way. It was a bit of a different way to kick things off. This episode, like stylistically, was really cool, like different than you see on network TV. But we can see that Blue Valley has moved on from the darkness brought on by Eclipso last season, catching up with our various characters and where they are, with some Neil Diamond playing over the top, which was nice. A lot of good songs used in this episode. Now the Dugan Whitmores are at Yellowstone National Park on their big trip, which we did see them partway through in the Earth Prime comic series. Don't know what national park they were at in that. It might have been Yellowstone. I don't think it was, but it might have been. I'm not too sure. But we do have Cindy forcing herself to do some good, which was helping an elderly lady, which you can see she's begrudgingly doing. And of course, the Crocs trying to live a normal life, with us seeing the gambler arrive back in Blue Valley. Home sweet home for him, and he seems very confident at the beginning, and that confidence just seems to wear away as we get further and further into the episode. Now, one cool thing was seeing the newspapers from all the different cities with Stargirl saving the day, because once again, this was in that Earth Prime comic series where it said that Pat and Courtney were, helping out and saving certain things going on in different cities that they went through. So I think it was cool they touched back on that. But this is when the Dugan Whitmores do arrive back from the trip, with Pat's new look being a target for compliments and also some mocking. I did like the mention of a parallel universe Pat. Thought that was pretty funny. But we see that when they were gone, Sylvester did some fixing up on the house, repairing stuff from the end of last season, as well as setting up his own living quarters in the basement, including a new box, or display box for Cosmo the staff, right next to his bed, which makes Courtney a bit uneasy. And maybe Courtney might have been dreading coming back with the staff just because of this type of situation. Now, the topic of Sylvester's rebirth is brought up, and he says he isn't exactly sure why he is back alive. Who knows whether that's the case or not, because later in the episode, he does admit to lying just straight up to Courtney's face. But all he really says is that he had to dig his way out from 6 feet under, and that, maybe when Courtney bonded with the staff in Season 1, that's what woke him up and everything like that. Now, Courtney believes that the staff isn't hers anymore due to Sylvester being back, but Sylvester denies that. He is done being Starman, apparently, but this does not really get Courtney or put Courtney at ease that much. She's still voicing her concerns with Pat later on about the whole thing. And Pat's got his own issues as well, because he's not really trusting the Crocs that much, at least at the beginning of the episode. And Courtney tries to push Pat in the more trusting direction. But this is actually, there's a lot happening early in this episode. Throughout the whole episode, it moves really quick with a lot of stuff happening. But this is followed quickly by the gambler at their door, and he's sort of, preaching this change of heart from him, while also mentioning he was told by someone about all the Eclipso stuff from last season. I'm like, who told you that? And he just sort of moves on from the topic. But yeah, the gambler mentions he has a daughter, Becky, who was otherwise known in the comics as Hazard, who was in The Flash back in season 4. Her full name is Rebecca Sharp, otherwise known as Becky. I think on The Flash in season 4, she was called Becky. I don't know if that character's appearing this season, or maybe it's setting up for something that could happen in maybe season 4 of Stargirl. I'm not too sure. Maybe it's attached to the Helix Institute because he's, having trouble finding her. So maybe she's a character we meet there. It's a wait and find out, I guess. But I knew that Hazard was the gambler's daughter, but I wasn't too sure that we'd ever get her on the show. So maybe we do later this season. I mean, I'm not too sure how old she would be, but maybe she was a part of that Helix Institute if it comes into play. But yeah, we'll have to wait and find out. Pretty interesting thread for this season. Now, the gambler wants to seek out his daughter due to his own father abandoning him, and he wants to try and stop her going down some form of similar path. But, that's all good and well, but that's for us to wait and find out, because at that time in the episode, something is weird, something's off, and it's because someone is watching them through some grainy surveillance camera, and I was like, oh, what the hell? Now, that was on the poster for this season. I said in the video, I was like, I wonder if that's going to play into it. They got all these surveillance cameras, and that's what's happening. So I'm very curious to see who is behind the screen. Who's watching all this stuff go down? Is it Mr. Bones from the end of last season, or is it someone completely different? I don't know. Take your guess. Now, we do get Crusher making he's making Pat like a tasty breakfast of just grass, green stuff. But he is really there to question him about the gambler, because he saw the gambler going to Pat's house. And Crusher adds his own warning while also being a bit of a threat, which, lines him up to potentially be a suspect for something later on. But yeah, Pat was probably right about locking the doors. And speaking of suspects, the Shade, we get to meet him while he's disgusted at the tea from the local diner, which I thought was pretty funny. I mean, a tea is a very sensitive beverage. You got to have the right combinations and everything like that. But the gambler goes to sit down with him, though the Shade isn't overly happy about this meeting, and the Shade threatens that he should maybe be leaving Blue Valley and not messing around with anyone else in this town. Even threatens him with the whole like dark and shadow eyes and stuff like that. Once again, another suspect for what happens later on. But as the gambler does leave, we see that there is some like green sparks shooting off of the Shade's shadows, which is interesting, and I'm sure we'll learn more, the next couple of episodes, I guess. Because he is only like a guest star this season, the Shade, so he's not in every episode like a lot of the other characters. So yeah, I'm curious to see what's going on there. Now, we do see the JSA catch up at lunch at school. Yolanda's still got family issues. Beth has, like, I guess the opposite sort of family issues, with her parents knowing that she's Dr. Midnight. Rick is struggling to put Grundy to rest properly. He's listened to all this stuff that the Shade is telling him. You got to bury him in this particular patch of dirt, at this particular angle, at this particular temperature, this particular type of day with the moon this size, and nothing's working. And then we have Cindy. Cindy's a part of it as well. Now, Courtney and Beth are somewhat okay, if not just, they're just doing it because they have to. Like, okay, whatever, Cindy, we can't deal with drama, just be a part of it. But Rick and Yolanda, on the other hand, yeah, not fans. Get out of here, Cindy. We don't want you. And I'm sure that'll cause some tension as the season goes on, but also even by the end of the episode, I'm assuming the beginning of next episode, there'll be more tension just because of how this episode ends. Now, Sylvester is quite impressed with Stripe, but also what Pat has done with himself since, I guess, Sylvester quote-unquote died, which of course is a change from what we saw in those flashbacks last season where, Sylvester treated Pat like a piece of crap. Let's be completely honest. Sylvester just didn't really care for Pat in that way too much in those scenes, those flashback stuff. So, is it an act? Is it legit? I'm sure we'll find out as the season goes on. Sylvester's just got a big question mark on him because he openly lied to Courtney. He did admit it, which we'll get to, but I don't know. I want to trust him at the same time. Just like he couldn't even explain how he came back to life. So that's just a big question mark. Now, we do get to see the gambler doing more research on his daughter and her whereabouts when a noise outside does startle him. But he returns to his trailer when he can't really see anything, though he's on edge, with his gun and putting his gun in the bin and all that stuff. He sort of wants to move on from that, but at the same time, I guess, as a protective device. But we do have him writing a letter to his daughter, Becky, and you just tell the gambler is like 100% uneasy and just does not feel safe. Now, whether he's gotten threats in the lead up to this, I guess that's a part of the mystery, but yeah, he just felt so uneasy. Now, Pat and Sylvester do go on a joy flight and are caught in the act coming home. And though Sylvester does apologize, it still doesn't really help the assurance issues that Courtney has with her relationship and I guess ownership over the cosmic staff. Now, this does lead Courtney to talking to Pat, where he admits, or not Pat, sorry, Sylvester, where he admits that he lied. And the reason he came to Blue Valley was for the staff, as was all he really had in his life once coming back. However, he had no idea Courtney was attached to it. He had just assumed Pat just had the staff in storage in the box, like we saw at the beginning of last season before Courtney grew that connection to it. And not that someone else had a connection to it like Courtney's had for the past couple of years. But we know Courtney, she's a trusting and giving person, and Courtney wants to share the staff. Now, who knows if that is going to work? Probably not, but it will be interesting to watch and find out. I'm assuming that Sylvester's going to suit up again as Starman because he says that Starman is back, so I'm assuming he's going to wear the suit again. I don't know if that was in any of the trailers or not. However, the sharing ceremony, if you want to call it, is interrupted by Beth over the JSA community, the comms, and she says there is an issue. Now, the JSA, including Cindy, go to the scene of the crime, but before they can step in and stop the crime, Artemis bursts into "Gotta Make You Sweat." I think the song is "Everybody Dance Now." You know that song. It just reminds me of the Steel Mill episode from The Simpsons. You work hard, we play hard, whatever it is. Anyway, we know that early in the episode, Artemis's mother had gone to Barbara, Courtney's mother, asking if Artemis could be in the JSA. So I guess this was a pretty decent audition. However, they do find out that the gang committing that crime are affiliated with the gambler. So now they get their eyes on the gambler. Now, we do have Pat and Sylvester catching up on some drinks, post-flight, I guess you could say. And you can tell Sylvester just isn't really comfortable with the ISA members that played a part, I guess, in his death and the death of other JSA members, just living free in the town and as like friends of sorts with Pat and his family. At least Pat's friendly to them. So that's just grinding Sylvester's gears, and I don't think that's going to ease off anytime soon. So that definitely has me intrigued to see where things go with that and whether it sort of causes some tensions within, between Sylvester and Pat because Sylvester's going after them, maybe even trying to kill these various ISA members. And also even just the whole suspect thing that's going on as well. Maybe he thinks that they committed what happens at the end of the episode as well. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, we do have the gambler come across these security feed of cameras on his computer that has eyes everywhere from various people's houses, the front of the people's houses, the school, including out the front of his own trailer. With him going to investigate and, as soon as he gets close to the camera, he is attacked, and we sort of get to, I guess, experience his murder through the security feed on his computer, though we don't specifically see it. And it seemed to make like a sound, whatever attacked him, like a screech or a growl. It was something like that. And even I guess we'll move on to it, but unfortunately, due to learning that the gang is affiliated with the gambler, the JSA, minus Cindy because of some arguing, goes to his location and they sort of hear the noise at the same time. And we see that his trailer is torn apart and that the gambler is dead on the ground. And who's there? Well, it's Cindy over his body holding his gun, which makes you go, whoa. But at the same time, you're looking at his trailer going, something big or strong or powerful or with some sort of weird power has ripped that apart. Like, what was that? What the hell was that? Now, I don't think they're going to stay on Cindy as a suspect for too long. I think maybe at the beginning of the episode, maybe like the next quarter or half of next episode, maybe Cindy's the main suspect, but I think they'll move on quickly when maybe there's like evidence of her not being there or whatever it is. I think the fact that the trailer is just torn apart like that means that Cindy didn't do it. I don't know why she would need to do that. But outside of Cindy, like, what are the early suspects? Now, it felt obvious, I think, once you got about a third of the way through the episode, that the gambler was the one that was going to die. I think I might have even said in a trailer breakdown for this, I just felt like the gambler was going to die, just because of the focus there, and I don't know what his part would be in this season, though we didn't know anything about the daughter or even just issues that the other ISA members had with him. But it just felt even just a third of the way through the episode, he was going to be the one that dies, and then you go with this conflict with the other ISA members that build them up as suspects. So for some early suspects, I guess you've got to include Crusher, if not just the Crocs in general, the Shade. And maybe the Shade could have torn that apart. I think that, Crusher couldn't have done that into the trailer. But it makes you just wonder, like, if he knew he was on a ticking time bomb, like his life was on limited time. And that's why he was like, one, living in the trailer, but also trying to communicate with his daughter and find his daughter quickly. So I wonder if it's someone outside of Blue Valley that's responsible for it. I'm very curious to see how this murder mystery plays out and whether we get seeds planted over the next handful of episodes that then grow to something later in the season, or whether they just jump straight into it and then we learn not too long from now maybe who did it, and it's about trying to take them down, because whoever did it, they seem pretty powerful. I mean, in regards to ripping open the trailer like that. Now, of course, we saw that the gambler had that security feed just come through on his computer. I do wonder if that's going to happen to anyone else, and I wonder why that happened specifically. Because I guess if you're spying on people, you wouldn't want to know that you're spying on them. So I'm interested to see how all this whole murder mystery plays out. But overall, this episode moved really quickly, and as I said, it was done in like a bit of an interesting style, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, it set up everything I think it needed to. It set up some tension between the JSA with Cindy being there and just people not being happy within there, while also setting up the battle for the cosmic stuff, even some stuff with Pat and Sylvester. Got us caught up with the Shade, the Crocs, everything like that, even the school life. I think it did a pretty good job setting everything up, and I'm excited to see how the rest of the season plays off. To be completely honest, I think this might be my favorite season premiere. It's hard to top season 1 because it did so much, like episode 1, because it is the pilot, and a pilot always goes overboard. But I really enjoyed this episode, and I'm looking forward to rewatching it as well as the rest of this season. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome. You could drop a like and show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various reactions and thoughts on this episode. Who's your lead suspect for the murder of the gambler? Do you think it's someone obvious? Do you think it's someone from outside of Blue Valley? Do you think it's someone we haven't met at all yet? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, as well as your just general thoughts on the episode. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.